Earlier this week, President Obama rolled out his latest budget. Predictably, the president is proposing another round of tax increases and much more spending. Here's the gist of it.
While deficits shrink in the short term, the president's budget would add $8.2 trillion in long-term debt and increase government spending by 56% over the next decade.
Now, at the centerpiece of this proposal, or at least the part that most of the media and press seems to be focusing on, has to do with a change in the way the government calculates inflation. I tried to find some footage from a news network that simply and accurately explained what Obama was proposing and what effect it would have on government tax laws and benefits, but was unable to, so I'm going to take a stab at it. Currently, government programs that provide benefits to people, both those programs that the beneficiaries have paid into, like Social Security, and welfare programs like TANF, increase benefits to account for inflation. Similarly, income and payroll taxes change based on the rate of inflation. The payroll tax cap goes up every year, and if you've ever filed a federal income tax return or just looked at the tax code, then you know that we have a progressive tax system, and so the more money you make, the higher your effective tax rate is. And the point at which your income puts you in a higher tax bracket is adjusted every year to reflect inflation. So currently, they use the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, to calculate the rate of inflation. If you don't know what the CPI is, then look it up. I'm presuming that most of you know what that is. The president is proposing switching from that to something called chain CPI, which is something Republicans and Democrats have been calling for years now. And basically, it's considered a more accurate reflection of the increase in the cost of living. The idea is that when certain goods become more expensive, people, especially people who are looking to live as frugally as possible, like people on a fixed income or people who are poor or unemployed and have to rely on government benefits, look for cheaper substitutes for those goods that they would otherwise buy. So this is considered a more accurate way to measure the increase in the cost of living. And the result will be that Social Security benefits, for example, and other government benefits will be increased at a slightly slower rate than they would be under current law. This is not a benefit cut. At least I don't consider it a benefit cut, because you're still increasing the benefits and it will keep pace with the cost of living. They're just changing how they measure the cost of living. It would also have tax implications because the various income tax thresholds or tax brackets would be increased at a slower rate as well. So you might find yourself falling into or slipping into a higher tax bracket than you otherwise would. Again, the change is very modest, but it supposedly will save the government, i.e. the taxpayers, hundreds of billions of dollars over the next decade, if implemented. But already, this proposal has drawn swift opposition, mostly because of how it would affect Social Security and other government benefits.
Really bad policy and bad politically for the Democratic Party. So we're sending the message that Democrats had better not vote for this.
No change CPI! No change CPI!
Liberals are calling the new Obama budget a betrayal, most particularly because it includes significant cuts to Social Security benefits.
Real Democrats do not cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. Period. It is shameful.
It's almost taking a whack out of Social Security as a way of symbolizing our ability to do something.
Some of the more despicable actors involved in this effort have given their groups euphemistic and misleading names like Strengthen Social Security and the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. Don't be fooled. If these groups won't even support proposals for reasonable reforms that will prolong the solvency of Social Security and Medicare without even cutting benefits, then they're not really interested in strengthening Social Security or preserving Social Security and Medicare. But to give you an idea of how powerful these groups are and how strong their influence is in Washington, let me show you what some in the president's own party were saying even before he rolled out his latest budget, even before they knew what he was going to say on Wednesday.
Here we go. It's the beginning of the big cave. At least that's what I think, and I'm afraid of this.
Millions of working people, seniors, disabled veterans, those who have lost a loved one in combat, and women will be extremely disappointed if President Obama caves into the long-standing Republican effort to cut Social Security and benefits for disabled veterans and their survivors through a so-called chain CPI.
Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren said today she was shocked by the budget. She said it dismantles Social Security inch by inch. Noting that 2/3 of seniors rely on Social Security for most of their income, Elizabeth Warren said today they are hanging on by their fingernails to their place in the middle class. She said we cannot chip away at America's middle class and break the promise to our seniors.
I cannot say for certain whether those particular politicians are succumbing to the influence of the anti-reform lobby or if they actually don't understand that Social Security and Medicare need to be reformed, or else very soon the trust funds will run out of money to pay the benefits that our government has promised to people who they're already collecting taxes from, supposedly to pay these benefits that they won't be able to pay because the systems need to be reformed. They're going to run out of money. Regardless, whichever the case, it's time we stop letting these, I'm not going to call them names, but you know what they are, get away with this. I mean, it's just ridiculous. If you want Social Security and Medicare to be around in perpetuity, or if you're like me and you wish we'd never created them in the first place, but now that you've got skin in the game, you would like to get something in exchange for the money that they're taking out of your paycheck every year, then we've got to fight for reform. Take action. So, I know there are already a lot of groups who are genuinely interested in protecting these programs and making them solvent in the long run. Like the Can Kicks Back, for example. You could get involved with one of those. You could call your senator and representative's office and urge them to support reasonable reforms. At the very least, we've got to pressure these people, both the anti-reform lobby and the politicians kowtowing to them, to do one of two things. Either offer a reasonable alternative to ensure the long-term solvency of Social Security and Medicare, or admit that you don't really care about protecting and preserving these programs for future beneficiaries. House Republicans have already come out to publicly comment on the president's budget and express support for some of his proposals. Unfortunately, at least one member of the administration has thrown cold water on any hopes of a good bipartisan compromise by saying this.
The offer that is there for Speaker Boehner is not an a la carte menu, and you can't decide to only pick out the concessions the president has made.
Now, if I were Speaker Boehner, then my reaction to that would be, the hell we can't. We're the House of Representatives. We write our own legislation. Well, sometimes we have the staffers write our legislation, but why not just go ahead and move ahead with legislation including the proposals that there's already a majority support for? I suspect the House is already planning to do that, so bring that up for a vote, then after it passes, roll out an announcement, come out, hold a press conference, and I'd tack on something like this. There was never any truth to the left-wing claims that Republicans want to dismantle the social safety net But now that the most far-left president in recent memory has not only acknowledged the need to reform Social Security and Medicare to save these programs from bankruptcy, but has finally proposed specific reforms, our Democratic colleagues have three options. They can support their president and join with those of us who have been trying for years to save Social Security and Medicare. They can offer reasonable alternatives for doing the same, or they can prove to everybody, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that they don't give a damn about saving these crucial programs from bankruptcy by continuing to demagogue the issue and rejecting all proposed reforms without offering any reasonable alternatives of their own. The choice is theirs to make. We hope, for the sake of future generations, they make the right one. I urge everyone to get involved with this effort to fight the anti-reform lobby and challenge them and the politicians kowtowing to them to either put up a plan if they're opposing all of these reforms, not just the reforms that are included in the president's budget, but those that are in the Republican budget, the Path to Prosperity, or any of these other reforms that have been proposed by various individuals for years trying to save Social Security and Medicare from insolvency, then offer reasonable alternatives or admit that you really don't care about saving these programs from bankruptcy. This seems like a good thing for a Twitter hashtag. Put up or shut up has already been used, and it's not the most accurate way of expressing the challenge. I mean, yes, it would be nice if they shut up, but I'd rather have them actually confess that they're not interested in saving these programs. I didn't find anyone, however, who has already used the hashtag put up or fess up. So, let's start using that. I mean, I could have said put up or confess, put up or admit, but I like this one. Put up or fess up. If you have a better one, then I'd like to hear it. The important thing is that we've got to keep the pressure on these people to challenge them to either put up a plan or confess that they are not interested in saving these programs. And that's about all I have for today. I'll probably do some more policy analysis on the president's proposed budgets and those proposed by the Democrats and Republicans. But the purpose of this video was really just a call to action, to challenge these people and to try and get others to challenge them as well. So, put up or fess up. And, of course, there is my blog. Please check it out. Follow me on Twitter. While you're on Twitter tweeting, go ahead and follow me at RightWingGenius. And until next time, don't mess with the right-wing genius.